All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to talk about a prediction changing for the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight and turning towards Terence Crawford despite having a warning for Terence Crawford about what Errol Spence Jr. can do in that ring. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division on the tail end of getting some really bad news. Didn't do a specific video about it, which is that the Adrian Bronner versus Brandon Figueroa fight that we were looking forward to this week has been canceled because Adrian Bronner cited mental health issues. So big bummer on that, but you know what it is. We just continue to talk this boxing. There was some interesting news that came out where Chris Algieri changes his prediction for the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight, but gives some really key insight into the fight that I think is definitely worth sharing. But before I get into that, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. If you are a longtime subscriber and supporter to the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. It really does mean a lot in the live streams that we do pretty much every day and the videos that we drop every day. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section and participate in the conversations we have there. That's one of the best features about the channel. So, all right, let's get into this. Chris Algieri, who is a former opponent of Errol Spence Jr., says that he has changed his mind in his prediction for the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight and has shifted from believing that Errol Spence Jr. was going to win the fight to calling it a 50-50 fight because of the way that Terence Crawford has developed in the weight class, how he's gained weight, looks strong, and so he believes that he's no longer leaning towards Errol. He's just going to say, look, I'm going to call who I think wins this, as we get closer to the fight. Something that I can absolutely positively relate to because I do a lot of that as well. I pretty much will feel who I think is going to win the fight, when the fight is originally made or before a fight is made. But then you kind of wait until you get maybe to the week of the fight. You see the weigh-ins, you see how they've interacted with each other for a couple weeks, and then just visualize the fight in your mind's eye. And a lot of times I find that I get the more accurate prediction for the fight doing it that way than kind of going off what we've seen over both fighters, before the fight was made. Now, one interesting thing though that Chris Algieri was stated in this interview is on Fight Hype. Definitely go check it out. A really good conversation. They most always have very, very good interviews that they do over there. One of the questions that was asked of Chris Algieri is, what do you see in Errol Spence Jr. that people would be really surprised about? And he said, look, one thing that I was really surprised about was his ability to box. When Errol Spence Jr. does not want to get hit, he does not get hit, right? He said, usually what he'll do, a lot of times what he'll do is he'll bear, he's a big guy, puts a ton of pressure on you. He's like, Terence Crawford is somebody that likes to think, calculates, and figures out, what he's going to do, get stronger, as the fight goes on. After he kind of figures opponents out, he said, Errol puts so much pressure on you, there's not a lot of time to figure it out. But he said, and plus he's got an excellent chin. So, if he does get hit, he can deal with it. He can deal with the shot, fairly well or very well. But one thing that, surprised Chris Algieri about Errol was his ability to box and his ability to get in and get out and prevent you from landing a shot when he doesn't want you to land a shot. So, he cited Errol Spence Jr.'s extensive amateur background. And that's something I've always said. First of all, I've seen Errol Spence Jr. fight on the back foot, or put it this way, I've seen him fight on the outside and dominate a fighting on the outside against a fighter that is very, very good at that in Mikey Garcia, right? Mikey Garcia is a pretty much a jab, right hand type of fighter, strong fighter, in the lower weight classes. But when Errol wanted to fight from the outside on him, wanted to control the distance, pretty much, Mikey couldn't do anything with him. Same thing happened with the Danny Garcia fight, where Errol fought a good amount of that from the outside or from mid-range. And, Danny Garcia is one of the better counter punchers in boxing. And as you saw when he fought Jose Benavidez, was still very, very sharp, good hand speed, very solid boxer. But when Errol didn't want to allow him to do that, Errol pretty much neutralized that and went on about, being able to box him from the outside. So one of the things that Chris Algieri pointed out was that, Errol's a much better boxer than people give him credit for. And that's where I say, the difference comes in with the Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. fight, and why I lean more towards Errol Spence, because of his ability to put pressure, but at the same time, when he wants to, he can take a step back and fight you from the outside, make it very difficult on you. So he definitely has different looks, where a lot of people just think all Errol does is just barrel in there. However, not going to discount what Chris Algieri says about Terence Crawford, pretty much growing into the weight class and looking strong in that weight class. He absolutely positively does. My thing is, though, that I just think that Terence is going to have to clip Errol and really hurt him in order to win that fight, because just the pressure that Errol puts on you and the fact that he's pressuring you and he's throwing a lot of punches, and he does that pretty much from like the midpoint round of the first round. I've heard people say that Errol starts slowly. I don't get that. To me, he seems like he's pretty much going from the beginning of the fight. Right now, of course, the first couple minutes may be not much of a feel out, him just kind of throwing a jab and the guy being very, very fresh, right? So in the first round, he hasn't really had a chance to wear on the guy. So the other guy may have a little bit more energy in the first round, but he's still throwing a lot of punches. And when somebody throws that many punches and the punches keep adding up, and you're fighting on the back foot, even if you are doing a decent job of evading a lot of those shots, you're still going to be down on the scorecard in the minds of a lot of judges because nowadays in boxing, they are really heavily scoring aggression. So I just think that if Errol gets into the situation where he gets up 6-7 rounds and Terence Crawford has to press him, Errol still has the ability to step back and just box Terence and outscore him from the outside. I think it's just going to be a very, very interesting fight, but I respect what Chris Algieri says. I don't think this is a blowaway, a fight where either guy has no chance. I really do think it's going to come down to what those guys do that day, but I just lean a lot more heavily towards that aggressive style that tends to put a lot of rounds in the bank. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.